bloei verdwyn.
Ah, come on, tell me this isn't bringing huge memories to you. Heidi and Peter skipping in the snow. I mean, this was what I used to watch as a child, didn't you? Didn't you come running in wherever you were at 6 o'clock, and that was our entertainment for the day? Heidi, how starved were we for entertainment? That's just what I realize now. Oh my gosh. Anyway, it was beautiful at the time. It really was. Well, we're going to have some massive nostalgia, and I'm going to take my kids, I can promise you that much. Starting today, an atmosphere of great excitement will be gripping the National Children's Theatre when the story of Heidi, that little orphan Swiss girl, delights and entertains children and their parents during the Easter holidays. The production will run until the 12th of April, and the artistic director of the show, Francois Theron, and some of the actors joining us here in studio this morning. I've got Emily Owen, who plays Heidi's aunt, Dita, that's right, Dita, and Grant Towers, who is the uncle.
The grandfather.
It's the grandfather, not the uncle.
They call him the arm uncle in certain sections of the book. Don't ask me why.
What's an arm uncle?
Basically, I'm related in part to most of the people in the village. But so they all sort of know me as uncle, like Afrikaans would call people Owen.
Okay.
And the Alm is basically the name of the mountain that he stays up on, isolated from the world.
So you're not. So didn't she really? She stayed with her uncle, not her grandfather. Hey.
It was her grandfather.
Her grandfather.
But he was seen as uncle to the whole village.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'm now on
background for you.
Now I understand the story of Heidi all over again. Thank you very much. I mean, it's such a beautiful story. It really
is beautiful
was.
And
yeah.
everyone
Why
has
bring Heidi back? Let's talk about that.
Well, Heidi is one of those shows that whenever we ask our audiences, and I love talking to the kids and their parents, I always ask them after the show, what's the next show? What would you like to see? And Heidi is one that always comes up, and so is Oliver. So this year we're doing both.
Oh, really?
We're doing
Well
Oliver
done.
in June, July. But Heidi's just a classic. People love it. Even, I mean, you were talking about our generation rushing to watch the television show, and we thought, do the children of these days still know Heidi? And the answer is yes, they do. We heard a story of Emily, I think, a family of hers who immigrated, and they asked for a box set to be sent to Australia or wherever they were, so that those parents can introduce their children to Heidi. So it really is a classic, and it's still very relevant. It's a story of a child who gets ripped out of a household and is orphaned and has to live with strangers. And I mean, how South African, you know, a lot of children are in that position, you know, having lost their parents, being orphaned, and having to stay with whoever can take care of them. So it's still very relevant. I've updated it a bit. I just have to explain, the song that we did earlier was from Sound of Music. So people are probably going, why are they doing that? I've added music from now and from musicals and from Moulin Rouge. There's a Josh Groban song. So it's very relevant, and children and adults of these days would definitely associate it.
You kind of have to.
With it.
That's the thing. I mean, you have
Otherwise,
to.
they feel it's a classic. Why should we come? But there are lots of. It
was like I took my kids, and I mean, one of the movies that when I was younger as well that I watched, and I must have watched it on repeat, was Annie. Loved it. So I took them now to see the latest Annie, and they loved it.
Oh, did they?
You know, it was updated, it was modern, it made more sense to them.
So
this is what's happening now. This will make more sense.
It's the basic story of it, but with more modern music.
More modern twists. Okay, so Emily, let's talk about your character. You play the aunt. Are you nice?
Not really.
No, you're a horrible aunt.
I'm a little bit of like a money-invested woman.
Okay.
And I palm Heidi off to the arm uncle. I've looked after her forever. I've had enough. I now want to go and look for a job in Frankfurt where I can finally make more money, greater wages. And so I come and I basically tell the arm uncle that it's his turn now. He has to do this, and I don't really give him a choice. I just abandon her there, and I come back a little bit later to take her again and to bring her to Frankfurt, where she will become the friend of a little girl, Clara, who's in the wheelchair. And so that's sort of the journey that I take her on. I bring her to all the locations. And,
so you bring all the trouble into her life.
I bring the trouble.
When you come onto that stage, we know there's drama. It's like, oh, here she comes again. Poor Heidi. And now you, the stability, you that big, grand, cuddly grandfather who just brings her so much joy in the mountains of Switzerland. Is it set? It's still set in Switzerland, right?
It's set, and then
you
they
didn't
moved
change
to, No. The setting and all of that, the background
it's
is
all
still
still
exactly
the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
He is mean at first.
Oh, are you?
I'm
He's not
very
cuddly.
crotchety and grumpy and angry at the world. And he's sort of, it's also a journey that the grandfather takes, that Heidi sort of just teaches him to fall in love with the world again. And it's not such an awful place after all. And it takes like a 5-year-old who can climb up the mountains without a problem, and just to show him that, you know, not everyone is like inherently evil or bad. It's you can enjoy the good things in life and still not be taken advantage of or take it for granted, basically.
Yeah. So she brings out that good. She brings the good out in you.
She actually brings the good out in everyone. She has such an effect on everyone, and that's something we've tried to bring in the show, is just to see how much love she brings and the effect that she has on people.
Yeah.
Also, what we did in this production is, in previous productions, they focused on Heidi and the story, but now we get to learn about how he feels, how the grandfather feels. I've added a Josh Groban song, and I won't give it away, but he's upset when she goes back, and then the other evil character is Frau Rottenmeier, the governess. Who makes Heidi's life hell, and at some stage in the production we get to know a little bit about her as well. So everyone is affected by the presence of Heidi, and everyone changes, and towards the end we see the world through her eyes, and people become not better people, well, better people, not, you know, they're not saved. Not that they need
but it's
saving.
nice family entertainment.
It's nice,
you leave
beautiful.
with a good feeling.
It is, because
course,
there's lots of
course.
heartache as well. She gets ripped away from, first of all, from her first household, then from the arm uncle, and then she just longs to go back to Frankfurt, and eventually she does go back to Frankfurt. But there's lots of trauma and heartache before then.
All in between.
Yes,
all in between.
yes, yeah.
So okay, we've met two of the actors, and I imagine it's quite a big cast from what I'm hearing.
It's a cast of 8.
It's a cast
but
of
they
8.
all double up and play villagers and
the Heidi, who plays Heidi? A young
19-year-old, very talented actress called Megan Rigby.
Okay.
She walked in, she auditioned, she sang a song from Little Women, I think. That's right, she's standing right there. She just stole my heart. She looked like Heidi, she had Heidi's energy, and she was almost cast immediately. She's very talented.
Yeah.
And it's a cast of very talented musical theatre performers. A lot of them studied at Oakfields, a lot of them studied at Tuckies. So it's a cast of professionals, and I think people will enjoy them.
Which is so nice because, you know, I mean, theatre is such such an amazing platform. It always is. It doesn't matter. There you go. You being introduced. There's Heidi, who's I suppose the lead performer in this production, and it's nice to meet her. 19 years old, and you're playing a 5-year-old. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice and flattering? Oh, that's awesome. But I mean, the nice thing about the theatre is, you know, it's still you see the reaction on children's faces.
God, it's incredible.
And that's where I think if you start taking your kids from a young age, and that's what I try and do is, and I want to introduce them from a very very young age, and I have from 2 years old. I don't care how old they are, and I mean if you introduce that side of them, I don't think there's anything more enriching. You must agree.
It's absolutely. We had our first preview yesterday, and I was a little worried because it's quite an intense story, and you have to listen very carefully to the plot line because you know it's complicated. And I watched the children from the back of the auditorium, and they all sat there and they were engaged and they were listening. Absolutely. And I felt such a sense of relief. I felt that there's still hope for kids. Kids can still sit and listen. They do not have to sit and play video games or play on their computers or whatever. Kids these days still read, and they still want to read the classics, and they sit and they listen, and that's very encouraging. Yeah. But it's also, you have to not train them, but you have to start taking, like you say, take them to theatre from a very early age. Yeah. And they're guaranteed to love it, you know.
To love it, yeah.
And there's definitely the benefit of theatre nowadays. I mean, back when I was a kid, theatre was much more expensive than going to the movies and stuff like that. Now the prices are pretty much the same. And what's the nice thing about theatre is that whereas a movie is exactly the same every time you go and watch it, even though you go watch the same show, every night will be different. Yeah. And what often happens in children's theatre is you have children who've watched the show maybe 2 or 3 times, especially at National Children's Theatre, where they they shout out what's next in the
Yeah.
plot line, or
lovely.
they
It's
correct
very
the actors
And
with
we
things.
encourage
And
that.
yeah, and what's nice about it is that the children can engage with the art form. Which is also very exciting for actors.
Yeah,
as
because
well.
we engage just as much with them when we do, it's not a fourth wall where we're completely disengaged with them.
Yeah.
We see them, we wave at them,
And you
when
want
we-
them to be
And I
absolutely.
encourage
shout
them
and
to,
talk
yes,
and
if they
can't
shout.
be silent in the
No,
National
you can't.
Children's
No, you
Theatre.
can't. I encourage the actors, if you get something from the children, respond to that,
Yeah.
answer them, make sure that they're acknowledged, because that's the story of our lives, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be acknowledged. So if
Yeah.
this child is so engaged and gets carried away with the story, then acknowledge that child. That child will never forget that moment.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, so it starts today, right?
Yes,
Yes.
that's
Okay,
right.
starting today all the way until the 12th of April.
That's right.
Bookings are open. I know you book basically by phoning the theatre.
That's right. Also, the website is nationalchildrenstheatre.org.za.
.org.za.
That's right.
All right, then you'll be able to book your tickets. You'll be able to go and see that. So some of the other performers, we've got Megan Rigby, who plays Heidi, and Dale Skippers, who play Peter, and you'll be hearing from them, and you did hear from them in the previous hour. But chatting to me was Francois Theron, the artistic director, Grant Towers, arm uncle of Heidi, or Heidi's grandfather, and Emily Owen, who plays the horrible Auntie Dita, Heidi's aunt. So there you go. Thank you very, very much. Thanks
Thank
for being
you.
with us here on the
Thank you.
program. All right, let's take a break here on the program. We'll see you after this. Stay tuned.